The vast darkness of space stretched endlessly, broken only by the gleaming metallic surface of the Zornak reconnaissance vessel. Captain J. Kim sat in the central command room, his six-fingered hands sliding across holographic displays that showed endless streams of planetary data. Earth appeared like a blue-green marble, spinning quietly against the black backdrop of space. The planet looked peaceful, almost insignificant. Jay had seen thousands of similar worlds during his decades of interstellar exploration, and most were disappointingly primitive. This world seemed no different. Standard scanning protocols began, sweeping across the planet's surface. Electromagnetic signals, technological emissions, and atmospheric compositions were analyzed within milliseconds. Most preliminary reports suggested a low-tier civilization, industrial but nowhere near interstellar capabilities. Something unusual caught Jay's attention. A small signal, unlike typical planetary communications, emerged from a remote location. Most scan algorithms would have dismissed it as background noise, but Jay's advanced training made him pause. The signal originated from a small dwelling in a region called South America. More specifically, it came from a single residential structure in a modest neighborhood. Enhanced Quadrant 7 Delta, Jay commanded his junior communication specialist, a young alien named Rim. The holographic display zoomed, revealing a modest home with white walls and a small garden. Inside, a young human female sat at a simple desk, surrounded by various electronic devices. Elena Park, 12 years old, according to the momentary data scan. She wore simple clothing, blue jeans and a white t-shirt with some cartoon character printed on it. Her dark hair was tied back and she seemed completely absorbed in something on her computer screen. What intrigued Jay was not the child herself, but the complex communication patterns emerging from her location. The signals were unusual, fragmented yet structured, containing layers of information that seemed far too sophisticated for a child her age. Rim looked confused. "Sir, these transmission patterns don't match any known human communication protocols." Jay leaned closer. The signals contained mathematical sequences, quantum encryption fragments, and what appeared to be partially encoded scientific formulas. They weren't just random data, they were deliberate, calculated transmissions. "Run a comprehensive analysis," Jay instructed. The ship's advanced computers worked rapidly. Within moments, preliminary results appeared. The signals contained references to advanced scientific concepts, quantum mechanics, advanced computational theory, and intricate communication protocols that should have been beyond a child's comprehension. Elena seemed unaware of the alien vessel scanning her home. She continued typing, occasionally taking notes in a small notebook beside her computer. Her movements were precise, her concentration absolute. Jay felt something he rarely experienced in his long career: genuine curiosity. The initial invasion plans for Earth suddenly seemed less straightforward. This single data point, this young, human child, had introduced an unexpected variable into their strategic calculations. "Prepare a detailed report," Jay told Rim. "But do not alert the invasion command structure yet. We need more information." Outside the ship, Earth continued its peaceful rotation. In her small room, Elena Park remained unaware that her simple actions had just caused the first ripple of doubt in an alien invasion plan. The reconnaissance continued, but something had fundamentally changed in the Zornak's perception of humanity. Child, armed with nothing more than curiosity and intelligence, had begun to challenge an entire alien civilization's understanding of human potential, and this was just the beginning. In the sterile, cold command center of the Zornak reconnaissance ship, tension filled the air. Captain J. Kim stared intently at the communication log from Elena Park's transmission. The first decoded message was simple yet puzzling. "Your scanning frequencies are detectable. Recommend recalibration." Commander Yoon Choi, a veteran of numerous galactic missions, frowned. How could a child know about their advanced technological scanning methods? The message wasn't just a random string of words. It contained precise, technical understanding that should have been impossible for a human, let alone a child. Rim, the junior communication specialist, ran multiple verification protocols. Each test confirmed the same shocking result. The message was intentional and technically accurate. Elena's next transmission arrived unexpectedly. It was a complex mathematical sequence that seemed to challenge the ship's communication encryption. The numbers danced across their screens, forming patterns that suggested an understanding of quantum communication far beyond human technological expectations. "Impossible," muttered Yoon Choi. But it was happening. The ship's advanced artificial intelligence began analyzing the transmission. Each layer revealed more complexity. Elena wasn't just sending a message. She was seemingly testing the limits of their communication systems. In her small room, thousands of miles below on Earth, Elena continued her work. She wore her favorite blue headphones, her fingers moving quickly across her keyboard. To her, this was just another interesting puzzle, a communication challenge that needed solving. She had no idea an alien ship was studying her every move. The Zornak crew watched in growing disbelief as Elena's transmissions became more sophisticated. She seemed to be deliberately introducing complex scientific concepts, mathematical theorems, and communication protocols that suggested a level of intelligence far beyond her years. One transmission contained a detailed breakdown of quantum entanglement principles. Another included a partial algorithm for advanced computational processing. Each message was like a carefully constructed intellectual trap, designed to make the aliens question everything they knew about human intelligence. Jae Kim realized they were witnessing something extraordinary. This wasn't just communication. It was a calculated demonstration of intellectual capability. "She's testing us," Jae said quietly. "She wants us to understand something." Rim looked confused. "But she's just a child." The communication continued. Elena began sending snippets of information that seemed random but were actually carefully constructed. A reference to advanced computational theory here, a mathematical sequence there. Each transmission was a piece of a larger puzzle. The Zornak ship's systems were working overtime, trying to decode and understand the messages. What appeared to be simple transmissions were actually complex communication strategies that challenged their most advanced decryption technologies. Commander Yoon Choi made a critical decision. "We need to respond," he told Jae. But carefully, they crafted a response that mirrored Elena's communication style, complex, layered, with multiple levels of meaning. It was both a test and an acknowledgement. Hours passed. Elena's room remained quiet, her computer humming softly. She seemed unaware of the massive alien ship analyzing her every transmission, unaware that she was fundamentally changing an alien civilization's understanding of human potential. The Zornak crew watched, fascinated and increasingly uncertain about their original invasion plans. A child using nothing more than a computer and her remarkable intelligence was communicating with an advanced alien civilization. She wasn't afraid. She was curious, analytical, and completely in control. Each transmission was a silent challenge. "Understand me. Recognize me." And slowly, methodically, Elena Park was making the Zornak do exactly that. The universe had just become a much more interesting place. The alien ship hung silent in Earth's orbit, its massive metal structure reflecting starlight. Inside, the atmosphere was thick with tension and uncertainty. Captain Jae Kim studied Elena's latest transmission. It wasn't just a message anymore. It was a carefully constructed strategic overview of human potential. She began revealing hints about technological capabilities that made the Zornak leadership extremely uncomfortable. First came subtle references to classified military research. Elena's transmission included fragmented but precise descriptions of advanced defensive systems. She didn't provide complete information, but offered just enough to create doubt and uncertainty. "Quantum shield technologies," Rim read aloud, his voice trembling. "Directed energy weapon prototypes. Adaptive artificial intelligence defense networks." Commander Yoon Choi felt a strange sensation he had never experienced before. Fear. The transmissions were masterful. Elena wasn't directly threatening. She was simply presenting information, allowing the aliens to connect their own dots. Each Fragments suggested humanity possessed technologies far beyond their initial assessment. A particular transmission caught everyone's attention. It referenced something called neural network adaptive defense systems, technology that could potentially learn and modify defensive strategies in microseconds. The description was just technical enough to be credible, just vague enough to be terrifying. The Zornak had planned a straightforward invasion. Overwhelming technological superiority was their standard strategy. Civilizations usually collapsed within hours of their initial assault. But this was different. Elena's messages suggested humanity might be unpredictable. They might have hidden technological capabilities that could turn a seemingly simple invasion into a complex, potentially devastating conflict. She included historical references, human adaptability during world wars, technological leaps during challenging periods, the rapid development of complex systems under pressure. Each example was a subtle warning. Humans were not a simple, predictable species. "She's telling us to be careful," Jay muttered. The ship's communication systems continued receiving fragments, sometimes mathematical equations, sometimes historical references, sometimes technical specifications that hinted at advanced research. Never complete, always suggestive. In her small room, Elena continued her work, completely unaware of the massive existential debate her transmissions were generating thousands of miles above Earth. She wore simple clothing, comfortable pajamas, and her favorite blue hoodie. Her workspace was organized, multiple screens displaying complex information. To her, this was just an interesting problem to solve. The Zornak leadership began an emergency conference. Hours of debate followed, with each transmission from Elena, introducing new layers of complexity and uncertainty. What if humans had technologies they hadn't detected? What if this seemingly primitive civilization was actually preparing something unexpected? What if invasion would cost more than potential gains? Elena's strategy was brilliant in its simplicity. She wasn't directly threatening. She was creating doubt, introducing uncertainty, making the potential cost of invasion seem increasingly unacceptable. Rim looked at the accumulated data. "She's using information as a weapon," he said quietly. Commander Yoon Choi nodded. The child was conducting psychological warfare without firing a single shot. She was making them question their entire invasion strategy through pure intellectual manipulation. The transmissions continued, each more provocative than the last. References to experimental technologies, hints about research facilities, subtle suggestions of global scientific collaboration. Humanity was presenting itself not as a weak target, but as a potentially dangerous, unpredictable species. As another transmission arrived, filled with complex quantum computational theories and references to emerging technologies, the alien ship grew quieter. The invasion plans were slowly dissolving, replaced by growing respect and uncertainty. A child, using nothing more than carefully constructed information, was changing the course of potential interstellar conflict. The universe would never be the same. The alien ship's communication chamber was silent, filled with an electric tension that seemed to vibrate through its metallic walls. Elena's latest transmission arrived like a precision-guided missile of intellect. "If you choose conflict," the message read, "calculate not just the probability of victory, but the cost of unpredictability." Captain J. Kim felt a chill run down his spine. The message was more than words. It was a psychological challenge that cut through their entire military strategy. Elena began presenting complex game theory scenarios. Each scenario demonstrated humanity's potential for adaptation, survival, and unexpected resistance. She broke down potential invasion strategies with mathematical precision, showing multiple potential outcomes that always ended with significant alien losses. One scenario explored a hypothetical invasion response. She demonstrated how humans might rapidly mobilize global resources, convert civilian technologies into military applications, and create adaptive defense mechanisms. The scenarios weren't just theoretical, they were terrifyingly plausible. Commander. Yoon Choi watched the transmissions with growing unease. The child was systematically dismantling their invasion plans without using a single weapon. Her weapon was pure intellect. She presented statistical models showing potential conflict scenarios. Each model suggested that a direct confrontation would result in massive losses for the Zornak, regardless of their technological superiority. The human factor, adaptability, collective intelligence, unexpected innovation, was an unpredictable variable. Rim, the junior communication specialist, compiled the data. "She's showing us multiple failure points in our invasion strategy," he said quietly. The transmissions continued. Elena introduced concepts of human psychological resilience. She described historical moments where seemingly weaker civilizations had overcome technologically superior opponents. Each example was a subtle warning. Humanity was not a simple target. In her small room, Elena remained unaware of the massive existential debate her transmissions were generating. She wore her favorite blue hoodie, her workspace filled with multiple screens displaying complex information. To her, this was just an interesting intellectual exercise. The alien ship's systems worked over time, analyzing every single transmission. Each message was a carefully constructed intellectual trap, designed to introduce doubt and hesitation. Elena's approach was brilliant. She wasn't threatening, she was educating. She demonstrated how human collective intelligence could rapidly solve complex problems. She showed examples of technological leaps made under extreme pressure. Each transmission suggested that an invasion would be more costly than beneficial. Commander Yoon Choi felt something he had never experienced before: respect for a potential enemy. The psychological challenge went deeper. Elena began presenting ethical dilemmas, exploring the potential moral and philosophical consequences of invasion. She introduced concepts of galactic diplomacy, mutual understanding, and potential collaborative opportunities. Her messages suggested that conflict was not just militarily expensive, but intellectually and morally counterproductive. The alien leadership's confidence began to crumble. What had seemed like a simple invasion plan now appeared to be a potentially catastrophic mistake. Elena's final transmission in this series was devastatingly simple. Understand before you act. Explore before you destroy. The message hung in the communication systems, a silent challenge that seemed to echo through the entire ship. Rim looked at Captain J. Kim. "What do we do?" Jay said nothing for a long moment. The child had done what entire military strategies could not. She had made them question their fundamental approach. In her room, Elena continued her work, completely unaware that she was changing the course of potential interstellar conflict. To her, this was just another interesting problem to solve. The universe watched, holding its breath. The Zornak leadership assembled in their most secure communication chamber, tension thick in the air. Elena Park's final transmission echoed through their advanced systems. Humanity's greatest strength is not our technology, but our ability to transform challenge into opportunity. Captain J. Kim stood before the High Council, presenting their comprehensive findings. Hours of debate, analysis, and heated discussions had led to this moment. The invasion of Earth was no longer a simple military decision. It had become a complex, philosophical challenge. "We cannot proceed," Jay announced. Quietly, the senior commanders looked stunned. Invasion had been their standard approach for centuries. No civilization had ever successfully deterred them before. But this was different. Elena's transmissions had systematically dismantled their invasion strategy, not through military might, but through pure intellectual demonstration. She had shown humanity's potential for adaptation, innovation, and unexpected resistance. The communication logs told a remarkable story. A single 12-year-old child had changed the course of potential interstellar conflict, using nothing more than carefully constructed information and intellectual strategy. Commander Yoon Choi reviewed the final analysis. The potential cost of invasion had become astronomically high. Humanity represented an unknown variable, dangerous, unpredictable, and potentially catastrophic to engage. "Mark this sector," he instructed Rim, the communication specialist. "Earth goes into our high-risk, non-engagement database. The decision was unprecedented. The Zornak had never before chosen to avoid a potential conquest. Deep in her room, Elena continued her studies, completely unaware of the massive cosmic decision she had just influenced. She wore her favorite blue hoodie, multiple screens displaying complex scientific information. To her, this was just another interesting problem to solve. The alien ship began its slow retreat from Earth's orbit. Each movement was calculated, careful, a stark contrast to their initial aggressive approach. Rim compiled the final report. It would become a legendary document in Zornak military history, the first time a potential invasion was stopped not by force, but by intellectual challenge. Elena's transmissions had introduced something revolutionary, the concept that intelligence was the most powerful weapon in the universe. The High Council's final message was simple. Earth would be observed, but not approached. The planet was now classified as a complex potential, a civilization too unpredictable and potentially dangerous to engage. One final transmission was sent to their vast galactic network. It contained a simple warning about Earth and its inhabitants. The message was clear: approach with caution, if at all. In the quiet of her room, Elena finished her homework, completely unaware that she had just prevented an alien invasion. The universe had learned a valuable lesson. Never underestimate the power of human intelligence, especially when it comes from the most unexpected source. Days passed. The alien ship slowly disappeared into the vast darkness of space, leaving behind only subtle electronic whispers, a testament to the remarkable encounter. Humanity continued its ordinary existence. Cities moved, people worked, children studied. Nothing seemed different, yet everything had changed. A 12-year-old girl had just become the first human to conduct interstellar diplomacy, without anyone on Earth ever knowing. The Zornak's galactic database now contained a special note. Beside Earth's entry, approach with extreme caution. Unexpected intelligence detected. Captain J. Kim watched the final reports being filed. Something told him this was just the beginning of humanity's remarkable journey. The universe had just become a much more interesting place.